dislocation loops and dislocation line segments are being formed. Yes or no? Two impurities moving dislocation के रास्ता में दो impurities रहने की जरूरत क्या है? No, no guarantee. Then what is going to happen? If there is only one impurity, what's going to happen? Let us try to see that. So, yes. I'm trying to show you second stage. Suppose this is dislocation line and this is the impurity. Only one impurity is there on the way. And here the external load is applied on the lattice. When the external load is applied, come on, beta, go. What is the effect of external load? It will try to motivate the dislocation to move forward. So dislocation आगे बढ़ता जाएगा. As the dislocation moves forward, इसका सामने कौन है? Impurity atom है. तो ये वाला dislocation क्या होता है? अरे भाई impurity, मेरे पीछे लोड है, मेरा रास्ता छोड़ दो प्लीज, मैं आगे बढ़ना है. तो फिर impurity क्या बोलता है? अरे मैं तुम्हारा रास्ता छोड़ देता हूँ, मैं impurity कैसा रहे? And added like a guest into your lattice to stop your movement. तुम्हारे को छोड़ने के लिए नहीं, चलो तू कुछ भी कर, मैं तुम्हारा रास्ता नहीं छोड़ता हूँ. बोलता है impurity. So जिद्द करता है impurity, मैं तुम्हारा रास्ता नहीं छोड़ता हूँ. लेकिन डिस्लोकेशन लाइन के पीछे कौन है? लोड है. आगे कौन है? इम्प्यूरिटी है. तो ये वाला रास्ता नहीं छोड़ता. लोड इज आल्सो नॉट लीविंग द डिस्लोकेशन. नाउ ड्यू टू दिस कंबाइंड इफेक्ट व्हाट्स गोइंग टू हैपन इज फॉर द टाइम बीइंग ये डिसीजन लेता है. नहीं मैं बेंड हो जाऊंगा बोल के अबाउट दिस इम्प्यूरिटी, दिस डिस्लोकेशन लाइन विल अंडरगो बेंडिंग लाइक दिस. इट विल अंडरगो बेंडिंग लाइक दिस. सो लेट मी शो इन द नेक्स्ट स्टेज अबाउट द इम्प्यूरिटी. दिस इज हाउ डिस्लोकेशन लाइन विल अंडरगो बेंडिंग. ये वाला रास्ता छोड़ता नहीं. इट इज आल्सो नॉट लीविंग द डिस्लोकेशन. सो बेंड होगा. बेंड हो जाने के बाद if the load is continuously acting on the lattice, तब क्या होता है सर? The length of this dislocation line will increase. When the length increases, the gap between these two wings will decrease. So in the next stage, suppose this impurity, I try to show you, length increases, the gap between these two wings of the dislocation line will decrease. Gap decrease होता जाता है. इस loop में कौन रहता है? Parent metal atoms. अब आइए बेटा, imagine my two hands in this position, like the dislocation loop. यहाँ पर कौन रह सकता है? Dislocation loop में यहाँ पर कौन रहता है? Parent metal atoms. When the gap between the two loops is decreasing, there is a possibility that the atoms in this wing and the atoms in this wing they come close to each other. एक threshold distance में आने से क्या होता है? Atom, parent metal atoms के बीच में bond बनता है. करता है. So bond formation takes place. आगे, when the load is still acting, these two atoms between which bond is formed, those two atoms are driven into a distance less than bond length. Less than bond length जब ड्राइव किया जाता है, उन दोनों एटम्स के बीच में रिपल्शन बढ़ता है. तो बॉन्ड क्लोजली आते हैं, बॉन्ड बनते हैं, रिपल्शन बढ़ते हैं. रिपल्शन बढ़ जाने से ऐसा रिपेल होती है. सो इन द नेक्स्ट स्टेज आई शो यू अबाउट द इम्प्यूरिटी. ऐसा बॉन्ड फॉर्मेशन, रिपल्शन, बॉन्ड फॉर्मेशन, रिपल्शन. ये सब कुछ कैसा हो गया सर? दिस वाज द डिस्लोकेशन लाइन. इस डिस्लोकेशन लाइन में कौन था? पेरेंट मेटल एटम्स था. नाउ दोस पेरेंट मेटल एटम्स का क्या हो गया? फॉर दिस डिस्लोकेशन लाइन इज एरास्ट डिफॉर्मेशन एंड ब्लास्ट डिफॉर्मेशन. What is the last stage of blast deformation? Fracture होना है. So किसी ना किसी एक स्टेज में क्या होता है? यहाँ पर fracture होते हैं. Yes. When fracture takes place, leaving this dislocation loop here, this particular part of the dislocation loop will again get converted into dislocation line because of the forces acting in the direction. This part of the loop again gets converted into straight line segment. So in the next stage I show about the impurity. There is a dislocation loop and dislocation line segment. इस लूप को यहाँ पर छोड़ के ये वाला लाइन सेगमेंट आगे बढ़ेगा. इस लूप को यहाँ पर छोड़ के ये वाला लाइन सेगमेंट सीधा आगे बढ़ेगा. आगे बढ़ने से क्या होता है सर? If there is another impurity there, again it will form a loop and a line segment. आगे बढ़ने से one more line loop, another line segment, another loop, another line segment. वैसा बहुत सारा loops और line segments बनता ही जाता रहता है. That means ये सारे dislocation loops और line segments कहाँ से बन रहे हैं? ये एक से और journey has began with one dislocation line. From one dislocation line, so many dislocation loops and dislocation line segments are being formed. Yes or no? अब भाई मेरे सामने ये क्वेश्चन है सर. Infinity lattice में suppose there is another dislocation line that is coming from a far off distance. You see far off distance से बेटा दूसरा कोई dislocation line आ रहा है, उसका क्या होगा? Q load. That dislocation line coming from infinity distance, it will bend over this, it will bend over this, it will form a loop over this, it will form a loop over this, it will become another loop over this. Like that, loop by loop, loop by loop, loop by loop बनता ही जाता रहता है. When so many number of loops are formed, come on, tell me, what's going to be the consequence? Gap between dislocation loops will decrease. When gap between dislocation loops decreases, repulsions will increase. When repulsions increases, movement of each dislocation will be stopped by another dislocation. Then what happens? Slip is arrested. Bola matra. Slip is arrested. Resistance to permanent deformation is increased. Hence, strength and hardness are increased. Ductility is decreased, and brittleness is increased. This increase in strength and hardness of metals by cold working is called strain hardening effect. Got it? So what's the conclusion from these two models? From these two models, the conclusion is, irrespective of whether there is one impurity in the path of a moving dislocation or there are two impurities, cold working of metals always results in increasing the number of dislocations. And when the number of dislocations increase, gap between dislocations will decrease. When gap between dislocations decreases, repulsions between dislocations will increase, therefore dislocation movement will stop, slip is arrested, resistance to permanent deformation will increase, and strength and hardness of the metal will increase, ductility will decrease, and brittleness will decrease. Got the point? Now, there was a scientist by the name Dr. Cottrell. Dr. Cottrell has tried to examine the practical validity of this fan resource mechanism in a tension test we have examined. Let me try to show you in a tension test. What are the investigations of Dr. Cottrell? On this particular diagram also, there are questions asked to the interviews. Be careful. I'm trying to draw load versus elastic diagram for my steel in a tension test. Load versus elastic diagram is being drawn for my steel in a tension test. As you know, the diagram of matters. That's what the diagram is. This is the diagram I have drawn for my steel. Now, in this diagram, I show you this part. This part is called as yield point elongation region. It is called yield point elongation region. It's called yield point elongation region. Many times in interviews, people will ask you why this in the yield point elongation region, why there is minor fluctuation of load. But if you like to know, in this yield point elongation region, if you enlarge this graph, and see, that is how the graph will look like. That's how the graph will look like. If you enlarge this portion of the graph, that's how it looks like. What does this graph tell you? This uneven fluctuation of load is due to what? These are the two things that are needed to be known to you before you go to any interview. Come on. Why there is fluctuation in load in the yield point elongation region of mild steel? When the graph is increasing, it means load is increasing. When the graph is decreasing, it means load is decreasing. Correct? Come on, friends. How do you provide this reason? The reason comes from what you have already discussed. Come on, friends. When impurity is stopped, when impurity has a stopped dislocation, come on. When impurity has stopped dislocation, what happens? When dislocation movement is stopped, slip is arrested, resistance to permanent deformation is increased. Correct? This resistance to permanent deformation is also known as internal resistance of the material. मटेरियल के ऊपर से एक्सटर्नल लोड लगाएगा, लेकिन इम्प्योरिटी डिस्लोकेशन को रोकने से इंटरनल रेजिस्टेंस बढ़ गया। जब किसी मटेरियल का इंटरनल रेजिस्टेंस बढ़ेगा, do you need to apply more load to continue deformation or less load? तो जब किसी मटेरियल का इंटरनल रेजिस्टेंस बढ़ेगा, क्या तू परमानेंट डिफॉर्मेशन लाने के लिए उसी लोड अप्लाई करके ठीक करेगा या ज्यादा लोड लगाएगा? Then internal resistance is increased, जब मटेरियल जोरदार लोड को रेजिस्ट कर पा रहा है, तो continue deformation you apply more load. ऐसा ना? That is why the load increases. So what does this load increase tell you? This load increase says dislocations are started by impurities. All right, sir. Then why does it decrease? Up to what time? Impurity can stop dislocation? Only after fracture. Tell me what happens after fracture? Leaving this loop here, another line segment will move forward. Upward. When this line segment, dislocation line segment moves forward, when dislocation moves forward, slip will continue. Resistance to permanent deformation will decrease. Means internal resistance will decrease. Upward. जब किसी मटेरियल का internal resistance कम हो गया है, do you need to apply more load to continue deformation? Less load. Less load. That is why load decrease. So ये वाला load decrease क्या बताती है? It tells you that dislocation line is fractured into two pieces and one part is moving. बोला. तो दोबारा क्यों increase हो गया सर? Why does the load increase again? Why does the load increase again? So again, this is stopped by another impurity. But the point. So when dislocations are stopped by impurities, load increases. When dislocation fracturing takes place, load decreases. When the moving dislocation is again stopped by another third impurity, again third time load increases. When fracture takes place third time, again load decreases. So this increase and decrease the load, these fluctuations in load are because of interactions between dislocations and interstitial carbon impurities. उनकी जो इस दुनिया को पहली बार बताया था, उनका नाम था डॉक्टर कॉट्रेल. तो उन्हीं का नाम के ऊपर से इस इफेक्ट को बोलते हैं बेटा कॉट्रेल एटमॉस्फेयर इफेक्ट. So this fluctuation is, हम लोग यहाँ पर लिखेंगे. This fluctuation in load in the yield point elongation region is due to Cottrell atmosphere effect. Due to Cottrell atmosphere effect. Right? The fluctuation in the load in the yield point elongation region of pipe steel is due to Cottrell atmosphere effect. अब दो तीन सेंटेंस लिखो बेटा, मैं डिक्टेशन करूँ मैं दिखा. Right now?
Light margin. नया वाला चैनल में कुछ पर चैनल में जाना मेरे वो वहाँ पे मैं सब्सक्रिप्शन में जा वो मैंने बताया था कल नीचे डबल ये कर डबल ऑल द बेस्ट भी लिखते नीचे
Yes, friend.
I am parting.
We are moving forward with the next minute survey mechanism on strain aging.
सर
तो क्या लिखना होगा? I क्या बोले तो?
keep it up लीजिए
Keep it up.
Let me try to show you the load versus elongation diagram again for a low carbon steel or a mild steel. Load versus elongation diagram. The strain aging phenomenon that we are discussing here is the one which is applicable to low carbon steels. Low carbon steels. So therefore, it's not a universal phenomenon. It's not applicable to all types of steels. Whatever you read here under strain aging is applicable to only low carbon steels. So let us try to see that we are trying to show here the initial load versus elongation diagram of mild steel. Let us say, for example, what is it? We are not going up to fracture. We are not going up to fracture. We are going to beyond yield point and then withdrawing the applied load. So when you go beyond yield point and withdraw the applied load, that amounts to be cold working only. Friends, when you go to beyond yield load, that means that the applied load is more than the yield load, material undergoes permanent deformation. As the material goes to permanent deformation, if you withdraw the applied load, this is the amount of elongation that is left out to the material. Permanent strain left out to the material. Because elongation is on the x-axis, you can say this is permanent elongation left out to the material. Now friends, this first cycle of loading is what is called as cold working. This is called as cold working. In cold working, what is actually done? Material is subjected to, material is initially heated to a temperature below recrystallization temperature. It is subjected to external load. The value of the applied load is more than the yield load. And after achieving permanent deformation, applied load is withdrawn. Correct or not? So if you try to draw load versus elongation diagram to a point of load before reaching ultimate load and then withdraw the applied load, that load versus elongation diagram reflects cold working process only. So what all happens in cold working process can be explained with the help of load versus elongation diagram that is drawn up to a value of load before ultimate load. So what is called as cold working. Now what drawn the applied load? Hence this particular cycle of loading is what is called as cold working. beyond yield load, that the applied load is more clinical. Load versus along, that is it. We are not going up to fracture. We are not going up to fracture. We are going to beyond yield point and then withdrawing the applied. Load. So when you go beyond yield point and withdraw the applied load, that amounts to be cold working only. Friends, when you go to beyond yield load, that means that the applied load is more than the yield load, material undergoes permanent deformation. As the material goes through permanent deformation, if you withdraw the applied load, this is the amount of permanent elongation that is left out in the material. Permanent strain left out in the material. Permanent because elongation is on the x-axis. You can say this is permanent elongation left out in the material. Now friends, this part. Cycle of loading is what is called as cold working. This is called as cold working. In cold working, what is actually done? Material is subjected to, if material is initially heated to a temperature below recrystallization temperature, it is subjected to external load. The value of the applied load is more than the yield load. Then after achieving permanent deformation, applied load is withdrawn. Correct or not? So if you try to draw load versus elongation diagram to a point of load before reaching ultimate load until withdraw the applied load, that load versus elongation diagram reflects cold working process only. So what all happens in cold working process can be explained with the help of load versus elongation diagram that is drawn up to a value of load before ultimate load. So before ultimate load, we have withdrawn the applied load. Hence this particular cycle of loading is what's called as cold working. Now what is actually I'm trying to show you in this diagram, this particular phase, this particular portion of the diagram is showing you that a low carbon steel is taken and it is subjected to cold working. Alright sir. This cold working process was in the good old days called as straining. Straining in the good old days was meant for cold working. Now once the cold working process is done on the low carbon steels, now we have two options. The two options are leave that particular cold worked low carbon steel at room temperature for a fairly long period of time. Leave that cold worked low carbon steel for a fairly long period of time at room temperature. Don't do anything with it. For a fairly long time when you leave it at room temperature, as a function of time, its strength and hardness will increase. Its strength and hardness will increase as a function of time. This is the meaning of strain aging. Aging means as a function of time. Strain means cold working. So after cold working, if you leave the component at room temperature for a long time, as a function of time, the strength and hardness will increase. This phenomenon is known as strain aging. Come on. How long, sir? Maybe 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years, like that. But your customer will not give you so much amount of processing time because he has already paid you advance. So whatever the improvement in strength and hardness that you can get over a long period of holding at room temperature, your customer wants to see that improvement within a short period of time. How do you achieve that? To achieve that improvement in a short period of time, what we try to do is, whatever the cold worked low carbon steel is there, that cold worked low carbon steel is subjected to heating. Right? It is subjected to heating in the temperature rate of 180 to 250 degrees centigrade. After heating up to the particular temperature, again we try to subject it to cold working. Second cycle of cold working. Let us see what is going to happen in the second cycle of cold working. In the second cycle of cold working, in the low temperature range of 180 to 250 centigrade. Again we are trying to subject it to loading. Again we are trying to subject it to loading. In the second time loading process, this is nothing but second time loading. The green curve is showing second time loading in the cold working process. You identify that this curve will overshoot the previous one, then again yield point elongation will reappear, and that is how the curve will rise. And going beyond yield point, if you withdraw the applied load, that is how it will come back to the zero load. Now how did you get this? This part is what is called as strain aging. This is called as, the green color part is called as strain aging. So what exactly is this strain aging? I am writing it here. Previously, cold worked low carbon steel, previously cold worked low carbon steel, previously cold worked low carbon steel is heated in the low temperature range, is heated in the low temperature range of 180 to 250 degrees centigrade, followed by cold working. What exactly will happen by the second cycle of cold working? All this is represented by second cycle, green color second cycle of loading is nothing but second cycle of cold working. But why, when are you doing this cold working? After reheating in the temperature range of 180 to 250 degrees centigrade. When you do this, after the second cycle of cold working, this is how the strength will increase, yield point elongation phenomenon will reappear. Alright friends. Now, sometimes people will ask you, what is this portion? Why the curve is increasing here? Friends, this part is what is called as strain hardening. That's what we have studied earlier. This part is called as strain hardening. So if this is strain hardening in the first cycle, then what about this part? This part is strain hardening in the second cycle. This is the strain hardening in the second cycle. Now, many people are confused between strain hardening and strain aging. Strain aging means after cold working, as a function of time, strength and hardness will improve. This is called as strain hardening, the strain aging. Strain hardening means in the first stage cold working cycle itself, the improvement in strength will take place by cold working. That is called as strain hardening. Strain aging will take place in the second cycle of cold working. Between second cycle of cold working and first cycle of cold working, there is a heating process that is involved. So what is going to happen by strain aging? By strain aging, the strength and hardness of the previously cold worked metal, cold worked steel, this is the previously cold worked steel. Its strength and hardness will further increase, ductility will decrease, and brittleness will increase. This is what is going to happen. So let me write here. What are the effects of strain aging? Effects of strain aging are strength and hardness will increase, strength and hardness of previously cold worked steel will increase, ductility will decrease, and brittleness will increase. Not only that, formability will decrease. Formability will decrease by strain aging process. Formability will decrease. That means, if a low carbon steel that is subject to strain aging treatment is later taken for sheet metal forming type of applications, by sheet metal forming applications, the sheet metal will undergo rupturing, tearing, or fracturing. That is the meaning of formability will decrease. Strength and hardness will increase by strain aging. It's a plus point. Ductility will decrease and formability will decrease. This is the two aspect. Therefore, in sheet metal forming applications or deep drawing applications, strain aging is considered as a drawback. It is considered as a negative effect or it is considered as a drawback. So what we have to do, we have to somehow see that the negative effects, ductility decrease and formability decrease, they do not happen. We have to see that they do not happen. We have to prevent them from happening because we want excellent formability in sheet metals. So how do you prevent these negative effects? In order to prevent these negative effects, alloying elements are added. So either let me write here, that is, prevent mobility, that will drawback. So what we have to do, we have to somehow predict strength and hardness will increase by strain aging. It's a plus point. Ductility will decrease and formability will decrease. This is the two aspect. Therefore, in sheet metal forming applications or deep drawing applications, strain aging is considered as a drawback. It is considered as a negative effect. It is considered as a drawback. So what we have to do, we have to somehow see that the negative effects, ductility decrease and formability decrease, they do not happen. We have to see that they do not happen. We have to prevent them from happening because we want excellent formability with sheet metals. So how do you prevent these negative effects? In order to prevent these negative effects, alloying elements are added. So let me write here, that is, I write here, to prevent negative effects, of strain aging, aluminum, vanadium, titanium, boron are added as alloying elements, are added to steel as alloying elements, At the time of steel manufacturing, if you add these alloying elements, the negative effects of these negative effects of strain aging will be prevented from happening, and therefore formability of the sheet, low steel sheet will not be damaged. But again, let us try to figure out why does this happen? Why does this happen? If ductility decreases, why does it decrease? If formability decreases, why does it decrease? Who is the culprit? Who is decreasing formability? Friends, when you are going for this low temperature heating during strain aging process, during that low temperature heating, what happens is the interstitial carbon and nitrogen atoms in the steel, whatever the interstitial carbon and nitrogen atoms are there, those interstitial carbon and nitrogen atoms will diffuse to the new dislocation sites. बेटा गर्म करने से क्या होगा? तो स्टील में रहने वाला इंटरस्टिशियल एटम्स अपने जगह से निकल जाके दूसरे किसी जगह को चले जाएगा by diffusion. Why does this happen? If ductility decreases, why does it decrease? If formability decreases, why does it decrease? Who is the culprit? Who is decreasing formability? Friends, when you are going for this low temperature heating during strain aging process, during that low temperature heating, what happens is interstitial carbon and nitrogen atoms. In the steel, whatever the interstitial carbon and nitrogen atoms are there, those interstitial carbon and nitrogen atoms will diffuse to the new dislocation sites. बेटा गर्म करने से क्या होगा, तो स्टील में रहने वाला इंटरस्टिशियल एटम्स अपने जगह से निकल जाके दूसरे किसी जगह को चले जाएगा by diffusion. When interstitial impurities go to some other location where there are new dislocations, they start stopping those dislocations and fracturing them. That means नया particle atmospheres का creation होता है. They start stopping those dislocations and fracturing them. That means नया particle atmospheres का creation होता है. By this heating process, carbon and nitrogen interstitials will be diffused to new dislocation sites. When they go to new dislocation sites, due to interaction between dislocations and interstitial impurities, new quartal atmospheres will be created. When new quartal atmospheres are created, again yield point elongation will take place. When yield point elongation takes place, multiplicatively number of dislocations will get regenerated. When these dislocations are regenerated, now the number of dislocations will increase. When number of dislocations increases, gap between dislocations will decrease. When gap between dislocations decreases, repulsions will increase, slip gets arrested, resistance to permanent deformation increases, hence strength and hardness will again increase, ductility will decrease, and brittleness will increase. So दोबारा strain hardening क्यों हो रहा है? Because again yield point elongation phenomenon is reappearing because new quartal atmospheres are created. This slip gets arrested, resistance to permanent deformation increases, hence strength and hardness will increase. When yield point elongation to new dislocation sites, due to interaction between dislocations and interstitial impurities, new quartal atmospheres will be created. When new quartal atmospheres are created, again yield point elongation will take place. When yield point elongation takes place, multiplicatively number of dislocations will get regenerated. When these dislocations are regenerated, now the number of dislocations will increase. When number of dislocations increases, gap between dislocations will decrease. When gap between dislocations decreases, repulsions will increase, slip gets arrested, resistance to permanent deformation increases, hence strength and hardness will again increase, ductility will decrease, and brittleness will increase. So दोबारा strain hardening क्यों हो रहा है? Because again yield point elongation phenomenon is reappearing because new quartal atmospheres are created. Now, what should be your strategy if you want to prevent this ductility from falling down? See that new quartal atmospheres are not created. That is why you are adding alloying elements. When you add alloying elements like aluminum, vanadium, niobium, titanium, boron, what will happen? These alloying elements are either carbide forming elements or nitride forming elements. 16. They react with carbon and result in concerned carbides. They react with nitrogen and steel and result in nitride formation. When alloying element, result in carbide formation and nitride formation, the amount of freely diffusing carbon and nitrogen will decrease. That means once alloy carbides or alloy nitrides are formed, even after second time, even after reheating, there will be no more free carbon, there is no more free nitrogen to diffuse. That means new particle atmospheres will not be created. When new particle atmospheres are not created, there will be no significant loss in ductility as well as no significant loss, improvement in brittleness. Strength will increase because of carbide and nitride formation. Loss in ductility as well as no significant loss. New particle atmospheres are not created, there will be no significant loss in ductility as well as no significant loss, improvement in brittleness. Strength will increase because of carbide and nitride formation. Strength and hardness will increase because of nitride and carbide formation. But remember, nitrides are not only hard but also they are tough. Alloy nitrides are not only harder, they are also tougher. Therefore, when they are tougher, they promote the formability instead of decreasing it. So strength and hardness will increase not because of particle atmosphere influence. If the strength and hardness increases due to particle atmosphere influence and strain hardening taking place, it will be definitely associated with the loss of ductility and improvement in brittleness and loss of formability. But here by adding alloy elements, what is that you are doing? You are facilitating improvement in strength and hardness due to carbide formation and nitride formation. Nitrides are not only harder, they are also tougher and hence they promote formability. So negative. Of drainage can be overcome simply by adding those alloying elements. Now friends, one or two sentences have to be written here. Right, we write the statements here. In strain aging, yield point elongation phenomenon, yield point elongation phenomenon reappears due to diffusion of carbon and nitrogen interstitials to new dislocation sites and creation of new particle atmospheres. New quarteral atmospheres. All right. Right hands. So here, in the strain aging process, we have seen what is strain aging, what type of strains it is applicable, and then what are the effects of strain aging. Among them, what are the positive effects, what are the negative effects, how to overcome the negative effect. Right? What is the effect of these alloying elements? And then, in strain aging process, why the yield point elongation phenomenon reappears in the second cycle of cold working? Right? Exactly on these points, in the IES examination, twice questions have come. They are there probably in your book also. You can see them. And if you have learned this much, you have already become competent to answer those questions that are there in the previous question papers. Now with that, we conclude this strain aging discussion and then proceed to the next one, that is in the previous. Now with that, we conclude this staging discussion and then proceed to the next one, that is dispersion strengthening. Dispersion strengthening. Right. In the dispersion strengthening process, let us try to write certain important points and then take up the explanation part. Hard particles of oxides, hard particles of oxides, or carbides, or nitrides, or borides. Hard particles of oxides, or carbides, or nitrides, or borides are dispersed in a soft metallic matrix. In a soft metallic matrix. In a soft metallic matrix, and the two are processed, and the two materials are processed into a composite. Are processed into a composite by powder metallurgy process. By powder metallurgy process. By powder metallurgy process. Okay, so let us try to understand this one sentence that is contained in water.
हेलो हेलो
number one is that dispersion strengthened materials are called as composites. This is the pattern process. Dispersion strengthened materials are called as composites. They are processed by powder metallurgy technique. What is the meaning of this powder metallurgy process? Friends, in powder metallurgy process, the two materials are taken in powder form. What are the two materials? One material is called as a matrix, and the other materials, I wrote here as hard particles, they are considered as a reinforcement. So a composite material will have two parts. One part is called as a matrix, another part is called as a reinforcement. Incidentally, matrix material is a soft metallic material taken in powder form, and reinforcement material is a hard particle material of oxides, carbides, or nitrides, or borides, considered also in powder form. So matrix material and reinforcement material both are taken in powder form. They are mixed thoroughly and then blended. Mixing, blending, and compaction is done. Compaction means compression. After compaction or compression, the entire composite material becomes like a loose cake, green cake. Like it does not have strength. Now that loose compact, after compaction, it is subjected to a heat treatment operation called as sintering. In this sintering process, what happens is, between the powder particles of reinforcement material and matrix material, bonds will be formed during the heat treatment process. During sintering, when bonds are formed in the solid state between solid particles of oxides, carbides, nitrides, and solid particles of matrix material without any melting, bond formation takes place in the solid state. That particular material which is produced is what is called as composite material. Once the sintering operation is over, mechanical properties of the composite will be established. And remember, what will be the superiority, sir? Because you are adding hard particles of oxides, carbides, nitrides to a soft metallic matrix. When you are adding hard particles to a soft matrix, what is the strategy, sir? These hard particles will have very high melting point temperature than the metallic matrix. Matrix material से compare करने से the hard oxide particles or carbides or nitride particles, they have higher melting point temperature. Because they have higher melting point temperature, they have ability to withstand loads even at high temperatures. At high temperatures, ability to withstand the loads gives you better creep strength. Therefore, dispersion strengthened the composites. They possess excellent hardness and creep resistance. They possess excellent hardness and creep strength. Creep strength बोलते ability to withstand loads at very high temperatures. They possess excellent hardness and creep strength. Now, we write here, for optimum properties in these composites, there are certain points that have to be kept in mind. Number one, volume fraction of reinforcement particles. Volume fraction of reinforcement particles must be 2 to 15%. Volume fraction of reinforcement particles must be 2 to 15%. And then we write the size of reinforcement particles. Reinforcement both the oxides, carbides, nitrides particles, they are called reinforcements. Size of reinforcement particles should be in the range of 0.01 to 0.1 micrometers. And shape of the reinforcement particles. There are three shapes generally. We write them as round shaped particles, disc shaped particles, and needle shaped particles. The reinforcement particles are oxides, carbides, nitrides. They are available in three different shapes. Out of these three different shapes, it is needle shaped particles which are identified as the best. Needle shaped particles are identified as the best to promote highest strength and creep resistance. They are needle shaped particles of oxides, carbides, and nitrides are identified to promote highest strength, hardness, as well as creep resistance in these composite materials. And remember, friends, in dispersion strengthening, questions are usually here. Therefore, ये सारा data को भी याद में रखने की जरूरत है बेटा. Concept and data. These are the things which are to be remembered by you. Dispersion strengthening में क्या कर दिया जा रहा है सर? For example, by powder metallurgy technique, when you are dispersing hard particles into a soft metallic matrix, after sintering operation, it is becoming a composite material. Now take that composite material after sintering, subject it to tension test. After sintering treatment is over, take the composite material, subject it to tension test. You will identify that as you keep on applying the load, when the load goes beyond yield load, the dislocations inside the composite will start moving. When the moving dislocations occasionally come across hard carbide particles and nitride particles, movement of dislocations will be stopped. Movement of dislocations will be stopped by these carbide, nitride and boride particles. Now entire mantra begins. Same mantra. बेटा दुनिया में कहाँ तक की जाओ, मेटल्स का और मटेरियल्स का स्ट्रेंथ इंप्रूव करने के लिए एक ही एक रास्ता है, ऐसा भी करो, कुछ भी करो, आगे बढ़ने वाला डिस्लोकेशन यूनिट को रोक दो. यहाँ पर कैसा रोक दे रहे हो आप? Dislocations are stopped by hard carbide particles or nitride particles. That is the reason why strength improves, hardness improves, and field resistance improves. Got the point? Fine. Now that these aspects are intertwined, we are going to the next strengthening mechanism. Fine. Strength improves, hardness improves. Fine. Strengthening. Let me take you to next technique. Solid solution strengthening. Solid solution strengthening. In solid solution strengthening, I'll be taking the discussion in two basic parts. Part one is basics of alloys. Basics of alloys. We will first try to know the basics of alloys, because solid solutions are alloys, they are not pure metals. Solid solutions are alloys, they are not pure metals. Therefore, we should, as we enter into alloys, we should know certain basic aspects related to alloys. Then after discussing the basics of alloys, we will proceed to part 2, which is the discussion on solid solution strengthening. Right. Coming. We need to write certain definitions. What is an alloy? Write down. An alloy is defined as any substance having metallic characteristics, any substance having metallic characteristics and composed of two or more number of elements out of which at least one is a metal. At least one is a metal. Keep a stop. Look at it. It's a simple English sentence. An alloy. How an alloy is different from other materials? An alloy is any substance having metallic characteristics. Okay, look at it. Better? You may be knowing. Metals are rotate to light. Metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. Every metal has its own color. When metals are beaten with a soft hammer, they give rise to their own noise. Density, color, noise, conductivity, opacity. These are the general characteristics of metallic material. Now, when I say alloys are substances having metallic characteristics, it means that alloys are good conductors of heat and electricity. Alloys have their own color of appearance. Alloys have their own density. When alloys are beaten with soft hammer, every alloy gives rise to its its own noise. If you change the composition of the elements in the alloys, noise changes, color changes, conductivity changes, density changes. बेटा ये सारे बात बोलने के अलावा एक सेंटेंस यूज कर लिया. Alloys are substances having metallic characteristics. Now we get it out. How alloys are getting metallic characteristics? Answer दिया जा रहा है. They are made out of two or more number of elements. They are made out of two or more number of elements, out of which at least one is a metal. That means when you are using two elements, one of them must be metal. That means you cannot produce alloys between two non-metallic materials. When you are producing alloy between two elements, one of them must be compulsorily metal. उस metallic element की तरफ से alloy inherit करता है metallic characteristics को. Okay. So alloy is any substance having metallic characteristics and composed of two or more number of elements, out of which at least one is a metal. That is the definition we have given. Next, what is a phase? Write down. Phase is defined as, listen, phase is defined as a microstructurally distinct, phase is defined as a microstructurally distinct, comma, chemically homogeneous and mechanically separable part of a system. I repeat, you can verify. A phase is defined as a microstructurally distinct, chemically homogeneous and mechanically separable part of a system. So let me say a simple example. Phase means what? Where do you see the phases in metallurgy? In alloys, whatever the phases are there, बेटा आने वाला है. हाइड्रोजन का डायग्राम वहाँ पर तुम्हारे को दिखेगा. कार्बाइन, आर्सेनाइड, सिमेंटाइड, उनके phases दिखेगा ना? Those are called phases. Now, वो वाला phases तुम्हारे कहाँ पर दिखते हैं? Alloys में. कब दिखते हैं? Only when you observe under the microscope. When you observe under the microscope at high magnification, that structure is called microstructure. Microstructure में अलग-अलग phases को कैसा पहचाना जाता है? Some phases appear dark, some phases appear bright. Some phases appear with one color, some phases appear with another color. So different phases are identified by color contrast, by color difference and contrast difference. Phases are identified under microscope with color difference and contrast difference. That is the meaning of saying microstructurally distinct. Now, when an alloy is having more than one phase, each phase will be having same composition throughout itself. Each phase will have uniform composition throughout its boundaries. But compared to neighboring phase, it will have a different composition. Therefore, we say each phase is chemically homogeneous. Then mechanically separable means what? Means by application of heat and pressure, you can unite two phases into one phase, or you can dissociate one phase into two phases. By application of heat and pressure, you can dissociate one phase into two phases, or you can associate two phases into one phase. ये बात बोलने के लिए वो एड्रेस कर दिया गया है बेटा. Mechanically separable. What is a phase? अब आप देखते जाइए सेंटेंस को. Microstructurally distinct, chemically homogeneous, mechanically separable part of a system. Right. Next, how to estimate number of phases in alloys? How to estimate number of phases in alloys? This is the question that we are not requiring to answer. How to estimate number of phases P in alloys? Better? Number of phases are estimated by using Gibbs phase rule. Gibbs phase rule. It states that P plus F is equal to C plus 1. For material science applications, it is P plus F is equal to C plus 1. I am sure every one of you has seen Gibbs phase rule in thermodynamics also. In thermodynamics, you write P plus F is equal to C plus 2. C C+2 is correct in thermodynamics. C+1 is correct in material science. Right? Therefore, be very careful. In competitive examinations, numerical problems will be given on Gibbs phase rule. It may be from thermodynamics, it may be from material science. So you need to first understand from which subject the question has come. Accordingly, you have to use the appropriate expression. If you use thermodynamics expression for material science problem, you will end up with the wrong result. Why? Expression is simple, but our understanding makes it to go wrong. So be very careful, beta. Let us try to understand what are they, what are all these terminology. P I have already written in the heading itself. P itself is number of phases. In this expression, where F is number of degrees of freedom, number of degrees of freedom, number of degrees of freedom. We write here, it's a slight definition. Degrees of freedom का मतलब क्या हो सकता है? That is number of variables which can be independently altered, number of variables which can be independently altered without affecting number of phases existing in equilibrium. So sometimes in certain books you come across a different type of statement. That is, people saying number of independent variables both there. You may say number of independent variables, or you may say number of variables which can be independently altered without affecting number of phases existing in equilibrium. Now remember all this. Friends, when I talk about number of variables, there are three variables: pressure, temperature, and composition. Suppose at a particular pressure, temperature, and composition, in an alloy, imagine there are three phases. Okay? Now, in a particular condition where there are three phases in an alloy, from that condition, if you change the pressure slightly, there is no effect on number of phases, then pressure becomes a degree of freedom. If you change the temperature slightly and there is no effect on number of phases, then temperature becomes a degree of freedom. You change the composition slightly and if there is no change in the number of phases, then composition becomes a degree of freedom. That is the meaning of this sentence that you have written. Right? Now, in mathematical engineering, based on these degrees of freedom, we have some observations. Right now, if that you have. Right? Now, in mathematical engineering, this part here, on these degrees of freedom, we have some observations. Right now, if F is equal to 0, the resulting transformation is known as invariant reaction. If degrees of freedom is equal to 0, the resulting transformation is known as invariant reaction. ये यहाँ पर मैं क्यों बता दे रहा हूँ? बेटा मेरा आने वाला टॉपिक है आयनिक कार्बन डायग्राम. When I go to the diagram, I will be talking about peritectic reaction, eutectoid reaction. These are called as invariant reactions. The moment you listen to the word invariant, it means that degrees of freedom is equal to 0. Notation है, similarly, if degrees of freedom is equal to 1, the resulting transformation is known as a univariant reaction. If degrees of freedom is equal to 2, the resulting transformation is known as a bivariant transformation, a bivariant reaction. All right. Next, C denotes number of chemical elements used in alloy formation. बोले तो उस alloy manufacturing process में कितने सारे एलिमेंट्स को आप यूज कर दिया? 2 एलिमेंट्स या 3 एलिमेंट्स या 4 एलिमेंट्स या 5 एलिमेंट्स? That is called as C. C denotes number of chemical elements. बेटा thermodynamics में C को बोलते हैं number of components. Material science में बोलते हैं number of chemical elements. For example बेटा नंबर 3 में कितने सारे C pipe and plant. If degrees of reacting transformation in alloy formation, बोले तो उस alloy manufacturing process में कितने सारे एलिमेंट्स को आप यूज कर दिया? 2 एलिमेंट्स या 3 एलिमेंट्स या 4 एलिमेंट्स या 5 एलिमेंट्स? That is called as C. C denotes number of chemical elements. बेटा thermodynamics में C को बोलते हैं number of components. Material science में बोलते हैं number of chemical elements. For example बेटा, if you are using 2 elements to manufacture an alloy, the alloy is called binary alloy. और तुम्हारा सिलेबस में only binary alloys है, both GATE, PSUs, IES. Right? Binary alloys बोले तो 2 component element systems. If you are using 3 elements, the alloy is called as a ternary alloy. If you are using 4 elements, the alloy is known as a quaternary alloy. Like that, the name of the alloy changes depending upon number of chemical elements used in manufacturing that alloy. Next, in that expression, digit 1 indicates, I write here, digit 1 indicates in that expression P plus F is equal to C plus 1. Digit 1 indicates temperature as the only one variable. Come on. In the study of internal phases in alloys. The digit 1 in Gibbs phase rule indicates temperature as the only one variable in the study of internal phases in alloys. बोलिए जब भी लिखा गया बेटा. When you see the Gibbs phase rule in thermodynamics, I told you P plus F equal to C plus 2 in thermodynamics. There in thermodynamics, temperature and pressure, there are 2 variables. But in material science, there is only one variable, temperature. Sir, ऐसा क्यों? बोलिए जब भी डाउट आते हैं बेटा, एक्सचेंज करना होता है. What is that? When you are manufacturing alloys, always remember, alloys are manufactured with fixed composition. Therefore, composition becomes constant. Composition is not a variable. Number 2, alloys are manufactured under fixed atmospheric pressure, constant atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure is not a variable. It's not variable in your hands or in my hands. We cannot vary it. So atmospheric pressure is considered as constant. Out of 3 variables, composition, pressure and temperature, when composition has become constant, pressure has become constant, you are left with only one variable, which is temperature. That is why we are using only one variable in Gibbs phase rule. P plus F is equal to C plus 1. Using that particular relationship, we will try to calculate number of phases existing in alloys. All right. Now moving forward. All right. Perfect. Sir, let us write right here what is called as classification of binary alloys. Classification of binary alloys. Classification of binary alloys. Classification of binary alloys. Friends, we write it. Binary alloys are classified. Binary alloys बोले तो two component alloy systems. Binary alloys are classified into two basic types. They are called as homogeneous alloys. Homogeneous alloys. Homogeneous alloys का मतलब है single phase alloys. Single phase alloys. Homogeneous alloys are single phase alloys. And second classification of binary alloys is mixtures. When I say mixtures, mixtures are multi-phase alloys. Multi-phase alloys. Mixtures are multi-phase alloys. Right. Now these single phase alloys are further classified into solid solutions. Single phase alloys are further classified into solid solutions and compounds. Whereas mixtures consist of two or more number of solid solutions. Two or more number of solid solutions existing together. If two different solid solutions are coexisting in the same alloy, it is called as a mixture. Similarly, if two or more number of compounds are existing together in one alloy, if there are two or more number of compounds existing together in one alloy, that's called as a mixture. Similarly, if an alloy is composed of a solid solution and a compound, one solid solution plus one compound, if they are existing together in an alloy, ये दो phases है किसी एक alloy में. The combination of these two phases is called as a mixture. So mixture कहलाने के लिए जरूरत क्या है? There should be two or more number of solid solutions, or two or more number of compounds, or a solid solution and a compound. Existing together is also called as a mixture. Right. So basically, this is what we call as the classification of binary alloys. Quickly copy this. I'm back. Alright? Now, so this is basically classification of binary alloys. Now, if you have carefully observed, binary alloys are either solid solutions or compounds or a combination of these two. That's how you can understand. Now, what are people doing is, what are solid solutions, what are their characteristics? What are compounds, what are their characteristics? How solid solutions are dependent on compound. Okay, clarity milna hai. That is the reason why we are now going ahead with the comparison between solid solutions and compounds. Let us take a comparison table for solid solutions and compounds. Solid solutions and compounds. Let us try to make it as a 2-column table, and let us write some 3-4 points and then start explanation part. Number 1, solid solutions are made on the basis of mutual solubility. Mutual solubility. Write down these points, I will explain them. Whereas compounds are made by a chemical reaction. Compounds are made by a chemical reaction between the two elements. Between two elements. Compounds are made by a chemical reaction between two elements, whereas solid solutions are made on basis of mutual solubility. Right. Then we write here second point of solid solutions. Solid solutions are made on weight percent basis. Weight percent basis. Whereas compounds are made on the basis of molar volumes or valencies. Compounds are made on the basis of molar volumes or valencies. Let me write here the point number 3. Solid solutions, while making solid solutions, solute concentration is variable. Solute concentration is variable. While making solid solutions, solute concentration is variable. Whereas while making compounds, molar volume ratio remains constant. Molar volume ratio remains constant. Right. Then we write here point number 4. Solid solutions cannot be written as a formula. Solid solutions cannot be written as a formula. They are indicated by Greek letters. They are indicated by Greek letters in microstructures and phase diagrams. They are indicated by Greek letters in microstructures and phase diagrams. Whereas compounds can be expressed as a formula. Compounds can be expressed as a formula. Copy down here. Okay? Now friends, as we take the discussion forward, let me try to take these points one after the other. Say for example, when I talk about solid solutions, let me cover right from something basics known to you. Friends, when I say solution, for example, sugar is added to water and sugar is completely dissolved in water. When sugar is completely dissolved in water, it becomes a solution. Sugar is called solute, water is known as solvent. When sugar is totally dissolved in water, it becomes a solution. So, from this particular discussion we understand, to make a solution, two things are needed, solvent and solute. Only when solute is completely dissolved in the solvent, we call it as a solution. Then what is a solid solution, sir? Similar to liquid solution, like sugar water solution, salt water solution, like this, वो liquid solution है. Alloys are solid solutions because they exist in solid state. Then how do you produce them? Like any other solution, solid solution also requires two elements. One is called solute element, and one is called solvent element. But in metallic system, whatever situation exists, let us say for example, you are trying to produce solid solution between two elements A and B. ये दोनों elements ऐसा रहना है. These two elements must exhibit mutual solubility. Because the solubility that we see in sugar water system, sugar is always solute. Water is always solid. Only sugar dissolves in water. Water never dissolves in sugar. Right? That's called unidirectional solubility. Only salt dissolves in water. Water will not dissolve in salt. लेकिन मैथमेटिकल सिस्टम में कैसा रहता? When you select the two elements for making solid solution, ये दोनों elements ये दूसरे में dissolve हो जाने वाला रहता है. That means when A dissolves B, A dissolves in B. उसी समय में B also dissolves in A. When A dissolves in B, A is solid, B is solid. When B dissolves in A, B is solid, A is solid. बोले तो जब दोनों elements एक दूसरे में dissolve हो जा रहा है, दोनों element solvent के जैसा और solute के जैसा काम करता है. The meaning of mutual solubility. So solid solutions are produced between whatever elements, between the two elements which exhibit mutual solubility. ये दूसरे में dissolve हो जाने की जो tendency रहता है, that's called mutual solubility. Only between such elements which exhibit mutual solubility, solid solutions can be produced. That's number one. And number two, solid solutions are made on weight percent basis. Say for example, you may have heard. Copper, zinc, alloys are known as brasses. How zinc is added to copper? % zinc added to copper is brass. 10% zinc added to copper is brass. 50% zinc added to copper is brass. 50% zinc added to copper is brass. What is this percentage? It is on the basis of weight. वजन के ऊपर से ऐड किया जाता है दोनों elements को. So when you add two elements on weight percent basis, come on, जो alloy बनने वाला है, that will be called as solid solution. So 5% by weight of zinc added to remaining 95% by weight of copper. 10% by weight of zinc added to 90% by weight of copper. That is how वजन basis के ऊपर से दोनों elements को add कर दिया जाता है. That is the meaning of solution. To produce solid solution. जब आप वजन के ऊपर से ऐड कर रहा है तुम्हारे पास एक सवाल रहता है जितना चाहते हैं उतना ऐड कर सकते हैं अपने मर्जी से. Suppose you want to add 5% zinc, you can add 5% zinc. You want to add 10% zinc copper, you can add 10% zinc copper by weight. If you want to add 50%, you can add 50%. तुम्हारी मर्जी के ऊपर से जितना ऐड करना चाहते हैं उतना ऐड कर दें. की सहूलत रहता है. Solute concentration is variable. जितना ऐड करना चाहते हैं उतना ऐड कर सकते हैं. तो ऐसा करने से क्या होता है? When you are changing the composition by weight, the change का properties variation मिलता है. So solid solutions can be produced between two elements with variation in properties. Why? Composition can be altered. When you keep on changing the composition by weight percent, the property भी broadly vary हो सकते हैं. So wide range of property variation के साथ रहने वाला solid solutions को आप produce कर सकते हैं. ये facility है हमारी. आगे. Sir, because you are adding the two elements with variable solid composition, कैसे ऐड करेगा? वजन के ऊपर ऐड करेगा. इसी के बाद से आप फार्मूला के रूप में नहीं लिख सकते हैं. जब फार्मूला के रूप में नहीं लिख सकते हैं, solid solutions are indicated by green letters. कहाँ? अरे जगह नहीं. Solid solutions are indicated by green letters in phase diagrams and microsections. तो जब भी बेटा phase diagrams में और microsections में जब भी आप green letters देखते हैं, बेटा समझ लेना कि the green letter is indicating solid solution. All right. अब इस तरह भाई. Compounds are made by chemical reaction between the two elements. So, select the type of elements जिसके बीच में reaction बन सकते हैं. अगर chemical reaction बन सकते हैं, chemical reaction की तरफ से जो alloy manufacturing होती है, that is called as compound. Next, to manufacture compounds, the two elements are added on molar volume basis or on valence basis. Let me take a small example here. Right, for the math exam, मैं यहाँ लगा रहा हूँ. Suppose I write 2H2 plus O2 gives rise to 2H2O. You also solve. How do you use 2 moles of hydrogen added to 1 mole of oxygen gives rise to 2 moles of water. That means what you are adding the hydrogen and oxygen on molar volume basis. 2 moles of hydrogen added to 1 mole of oxygen gives rise to 2 moles of water. So there is a mixed molar volume ratio 2:1. Then only you get water. If you change this molar volume ratio, you will not get water. That is why we wrote molar volume ratio remains constant. And because molar volume ratio remains constant, you can write it as a chemically balanced equation and you can express the compound as a formula. According to chemistry, compounds can be written as a formula and all formulas indicate compounds too. Formula regarding to compound. Formula के साथ लिखा है इसका मतलब है two elements are added on fixed molar volume ratio. या दूसरा आप लिखेगा compound को लिखिए. वो क्या है? Balance basis है. For example, sodium plus chloride minus gives rise to sodium chloride. The two elements are added on the basis of balancing. Sodium balance is plus 1, chloride balance is minus 1. The sodium and chloride, they balance the electrical charge that each other, so that the resulting compound called as sodium chloride becomes charge-wise neutral. Therefore, compounds are manufactured either on molar volume ratio or on balancing basis. Molar volume ratio remains constant, and all compounds can be expressed in the form of a formula. Right. यहाँ तक आप समझ गया हो. Now I'm going to point number 5. As an extension of this part of the table, I get it here. Point number 5. Like that. And like that. Y-axis is temperature. Y-axis is temperature. X-axis is time. For solid solutions, this graph looks like this. Liquid plus solid and solid area. And this temperature, the range जो है, this is what's called as freezing range or melting range mode. Melting range. For compounds, I can draw a similar graph. For compounds, the graph comes like this. Temperature versus time graph. Temperature versus time graph. For compounds comes like this. Liquid, liquid plus solid, and solid. Liquid plus solid, and solid. Right. So from this graph we understand that temperature versus time diagram is what's called the cooling graph. If you are discussing the changes during cooling process, you call it the cooling graph. If you are discussing this graph during heating process, you call it the heating graph. Right. Or after temperature. From this temperature, this is boiling temperature to the mold. Up to this temperature, the metal in the mold is in liquid state. At this temperature, solidification begins. At this temperature, solidification ends. Now this temperature range between beginning of solidification and ending of solidification, this range of temperature is called freezing range during cooling. During heating process, melting begins here, melting ends here. Therefore, this entire temperature range is called the melting range during heating. It is called the freezing range during cooling. Similarly, if you see in compounds, the freezing range or melting range is 0. That means compounds melt or solidify at constant temperature. This line is called the melting line or solidification line. There are the melting line, cooling the solidification line, there is line. So compounds melt or solidify at constant temperature. Freezing range is 0. Whereas solid solutions melt or solidify over a range of temperatures. Write down that. Solid solutions melt or solidify over a range of temperatures. A range of temperatures. Where compounds melt or solidify at constant temperature. Like pure metals. Next. That is the thing that takes there. The last point in this table is solid solutions are addressed by. Please write in inverted commas. Minor element in major element. Minor element in major element. For example, alpha valvite is a solid solution of carbon in iron. Similarly, gamma arsenite is a solid solution of carbon in iron. That's how we can address solid solutions. Solid solutions are always addressed by minor element in major element. So when I say solid solution of carbon in iron, it means carbon is minor, iron is major. Right? Alpha valvite is also a solid solution of carbon in iron. Arsenite is also a solid solution of carbon in iron. Carbon in iron, both there, carbon is minor, iron is major. Next, compounds के बारे में लिखते हुए, right? लिखेंगे. Compounds are addressed by, right? Inverted commas, major element and minor element. Major element and minor element. For example, CO3SN is a compound of major element copper and minor element tin. Similarly, Mg2Pb is a compound of major element magnesium and minor element lead. Next, Fe3C is a compound of FePC is a compound of iron and carbon. That is the addressing methodology. That is the addressing methodology for.
Hello, bhai. I was in you live stream yesterday. हाँ याद है कल. और क्या बोलते हैं? Tomorrow is my exam. काय की एग्जाम है? कौन सी एग्जाम है? ये बाप रे. अच्छा कंप्यूटर एप्लीकेशन. हाँ ठीक है. थ्योरी पेपर है. थ्योरी में तो अपन लिख सकते हैं. ऑल द बेस्ट भाई. जितना भी पढ़ा है बराबर लिख देना. प्रैक्टिकल जितना पढ़ा है उसको फटाफट रिवाइज कर लेने का. ओके बाय बाय.
The solid solutions as well as the compounds, right? Never forget these fundamentals. Never forget these fundamentals, right? Now friends, we have completed the part 1 of solid solutions. We have completed only part 1 of solid solutions Sindhari. We are left with 10 minutes for doubts clarification session. So please shoot your doubts. At 10 o'clock we'll stop, and tomorrow again we'll meet at the same time, 6 p.m. All right. It's now Doubts time. Yeah. If you have any doubts, you can ask. You have any queries, you can ask.
Thank you for joining. Bye bye.